Hello friends, it's Catherine Massell, Ascending Earth Creatrix, Master Intuitive Energy Healer, Spiritual Growth Catalyst. I want to talk to you today about unbeing what you know, creating a different personality for yourself, learning how to do that and the science behind it. And it's going to be hopefully a quick talk, but I want to share this in a few different places as soon as I see where I am here. I'm going to share in a couple places where I don't usually share. Definitely sharing in my group, The Money Lab, because this pertains to them specifically, because of the folks in there doing this work with me. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. And say hello, let me know that you're here. If you're watching the replay later on, let me know where you're watching from. Do hashtag replay. I'm going to share in a place I don't usually share, because why not? Let's see, and where else am I going to share? In my group, Ascending Earth Creatrix. So, those of you who maybe don't know who I am, I have a group, free Facebook group, Ascending Earth Creatrix. I have a paid group called The Money Lab. I have a couple different paid groups. Hi, Tanya James. And if you didn't check out my talk with Tanya James in her Ascending into Truth interview series that she's got going on right now, there's some amazing expert speakers that she has been interviewing. And it continues for another, is it 5 days or more? I forget the dates, but it's fantastic. So I want to get this out because I was frantically writing this down before I went live here. So I want to make sure that I get this out. So, you know, more than that, awesome, Tanya. Very, very cool. So exciting. So do check that out. And if you wanted to get that link, it's on my business page here, Catherine Massell, Ascending Earth Creatrix, the link to sign up for her online event. So you can unbe what you know. And I want to give you a little bit of a primer on a little bit of biological chemistry. And I really want to talk about the science of creating a wealth mindset and how it is possible to move out of a poverty mindset and the science behind that. So our external environment signals our genes, and you can look to the world of and the science of epigenetics. So if you don't know what epigenetics are, it's basically looking at the fact that genes are turned on and off all the time. There's either genes being silenced or expressed. And this is largely based on how we perceive certain circumstances in our external environment. It triggers the expression of certain genes and the silencing or the suppressing of others. So circumstances in life can cause these genes to be silenced or expressed. So our external environment, so if we are occupying the perspective, hi Gladys, if we are occupying the perspective of the observer of our reality versus being the creator of our reality, and I talk about this quite a bit in the Money Lab because this is one of those fundamental things that if you're going to be a master manifester, a master builder of your experience, you must nail the idea of and totally embody the perspective of creator of your reality versus observer of your reality. So if you are just observing your external environment every day and occupying the perspective of observer, meaning you're only looking at what is, okay? You are judging what is and interpreting that as your reality and kind of unchangeable, okay? And because of the emotions that you feel by observing this reality, the thoughts that you're thinking, the things that you're believing based on this external set of circumstances, you are either turning certain genes on or off, okay? And if you have this perspective of just observer of your reality, that you are not occupying the perspective of I can change any of this, you are living in the same emotional state every single day. You are acting out the same behaviors. You are thinking the same thoughts. you are expressing those same genes over and over again, and your genes are directing the production of certain proteins, okay? Because of epigenetics and what we understand about epigenetics, that when certain genes are expressed, that means it sets off certain chemical cascades within the body that produces certain proteins, releases certain hormones, etc. So they predispose us then, these things that are being produced, the proteins and the hormones, to certain ongoing or chronic conditions, unless something changes to turn these genes off and turn other genes on, okay? So largely, if people are just going on unaware, I'm going to turn on this light so I can see, unaware of this complex biological cascade effect, this biological functioning, as most people are unaware of this. Most people, if you say epigenetics, they have no idea what you're talking about. But this is real scientific stuff we're talking about here. Most people are unaware of it. Just being observers of their reality, their external environment, not believing they have the ability to think different thoughts, or that they have the ability to even choose more elevated emotions, to feel more elevated emotions, or believe in anything different than what their external reality is showing them. Most people feel destined to a certain confined reality, or a certain confined set of circumstances that creates their reality. So if what they observe is not comfortable for them, and most people, let's just face it, most people aren't very happy in their reality. We have rampant depression. We have a lot of people who are feeling pretty low about themselves, low about their lives. So most people are going on as observers of their reality, and what they are observing in their reality is not favorable. They don't like it. It's not comfortable. And then you add to the mix an elevated stress hormone or stress hormones, because it's an uncomfortable reality for them. And it often creates an unhealthy chemical modification in your cells. And it brings on chronic conditions. It brings on disease, okay? And chronic conditions, once you have them, they require a lifestyle change. So when Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, he talks about the idea that, medicine is great for acute conditions. We break an arm, we get it reset and we get it fixed. We throw out a hip, we break our hip. Modern Western medicine is fantastic for certain things like this, but chronic conditions aren't just, you go into the hospital and you get surgery and it's taken care of. Chronic conditions really require a lifestyle change. And chronic conditions require looking at all aspects of your internal environment, really. Okay? So, chronic conditions, let's just say, if they require a lifestyle change, chronic conditions, in other words, you have to change the way you live your life, the thoughts you think, the actions that you are taking every day, how you manage your emotions. Most people aren't even managing their emotions. Hi, Tanaya. So if you believe that, and I do, and I've read a lot about this, and you don't have to look too hard to find this. Science has proven through studies about the placebo effect that in placebo studies with, let's just say, antidepressants, about 80% of people who are given a placebo, meaning it's not a real medication, it's maybe a sugar pill, okay? But they're being told that it is the real pill to help cure X, Y, or Z, okay? So in these placebo studies on antidepressants, those who are given a placebo, about 80% of those who are given a placebo versus those who are given the actual pill, will receive the same or even better results than those given the actual antidepressant medication. So if this science is proven over and over again, and it is, like I said, you don't have to look very hard for this, then this means that people believe they are going to get better. And when people believe they are going to get better, their emotional state changes. And when people's emotional state changes, their brain produces its own kind of pharmacopoeia of chemical reactions and input to help keep that state, that emotional elevated state, elevated. And that produces long-term effects in the body because of the emotional state of I feel good, so I'm going to do all these things. And that allows us to go into creating more positive self-affirming behaviors too, because we're believing we're really healthy. We're going to start creating different behaviors to corroborate that because we believe that is our new reality. Okay? So their beliefs change in doing these studies in about 6 to 8 weeks, which is really fascinating. So it's about having this pill every day in these placebo studies, having this pill every day, which is in their mind triggering a reaction of, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. I'm already feeling great. This is wonderful. I'm going to be able to do these things. They start having a better outlook on their future. They start planning ahead. They start having less depressive thoughts. They start having more elevated reactions to their external environment. They start feeling hope and possibility and faith in the future. This sets off a whole cascade effect of chemical reactions in the body that produces much greater health and well-being overall. So when people believe they're going to get better, their emotional state changes, their beliefs change, and over about 6 to 8 weeks, they've created a whole new personality for themselves. They've created a whole new state of well-being, which means they get to look at their life with a new set of lenses. They get to embody this perspective then that they did not have before, and they essentially become a different person. That's very powerful. So they've memorized in this place of 6 to 8 weeks, having this placebo every day for 6 to 8 weeks. They've basically memorized an internal state that then gets mirrored in their external environment. And so the brain is just seeing, well, here's the external environment. The brain doesn't make any distinction between what is real in the outside world and what is real in here. What is real or imagined doesn't mean anything to the brain because it'll have the same cascade effect or chemical reactions, hormones released in the body, whether it's real or imagined. If you're believing in a different reality for yourself and opting for more elevated emotions due to this shift in your beliefs, due to this choice to be in an elevated emotion, you're going to start believing in new ways that support a whole new set of beliefs. More self-affirming beliefs. And the emotions will follow that, and then the behaviors follow that too. Hello, welcome, thanks for joining. So the idea in epigenetics is that the environment is signaling the gene to be turned on or off. And what genes get turned on or off and are expressed or either silenced largely create patterns in our life. A chronic condition, if you will, okay, whether good or bad. So epigenetics also supports the idea that we can signal the gene before the environment. So how do we do that? By changing our internal state first. So if you combine an elevated emotion with just say one new belief, you want to instill a new belief, install a new belief, and you have an emotion that supports that, something that is hopefully self-affirming. And then you have a behavior that you engage in every single day, and you do this every single day for 6 to 8 weeks. What you're doing, and what the brain is essentially helping you carry out, is this whole new set of realities for you, this whole new persona or personality, and a new reality for yourself. Because epigenetics also supports the idea that internally, we can signal the gene to perform in a certain way that will allow our external environment to play out in a way that is more favorable, more likable, more fun to be in. So this is really interesting. So what does that mean then? It means you're turning on different genes when you do this. If you are in the present moment, and what I talked about before, being in this perspective of the observer versus the creator, if you are in the perspective of your life as the observer, meaning you are just taking everything at face value, you're seeing what is and judging and having feelings about your environment based on that alone, you are allowing the sequencing or the firing, the expressing of certain genes, the same genes over and over and over again. But if you choose a different belief, You choose an elevated emotion that corroborates that belief or is in alignment with that belief. And you create one behavior every day that you engage in for 6 to 8 weeks. And when you do all this is an important thing to really anchor in here. If you do all this and occupy the vantage point or the perspective of, I am the creator of my reality, then you are in the present. You're very mindful and present when you're doing all this. And so when you create that intention and you put all of that force behind it of a new belief, a new feeling, and a new behavior to anchor it into your reality and literally have it become your reality, guess what happens after 6 to 8 weeks? You've created a whole new external environment that is a direct mirror or projection of your internal state. Science proves this to be true, okay? So you're turning on different genes to be expressed. You're creating a more favorable internal environment, signaling a cascade effect of proteins in the body to be created that optimize health and well-being then. And again, this is if what you want to, believe in and feel is self-affirming, rather than what before might have been self-negating. And when we are just operating from the perspective observer, we're looking at our external environment, and we tend to believe things and behave in ways that are self-negating. But if we believe that we are the creator of our reality, and we are instilling a new belief, we're opting to think different thoughts about that belief all day long, every day. We are opting for an elevated emotion to help anchor that in, because emotions will help anchor in a belief, always and ever. And a new behavior. So you are taking action every day that signals a response in the brain and in the body that, oh, we're doing this every day. It's becoming my new normal. Your external environment starts to match up, okay? So that you're also experiencing optimal health and well-being because you are in this perspective of creator. You feel in control of your destiny, and in a sense, you are controlling your genetic destiny too. So this helps to release different hormones that allow you to sustain the experience of feeling good as well. Hey, Crystal. So, and the most interesting thing to point out here is that the brain doesn't make any distinction or understand the difference between what is real or what is imagined. Okay? So that's why the power of visualization works so well. That's why getting into the feeling space of, let's just say, creating your reality as if, I like to call it, meaning you have a desire, you've launched that into the void, the womb of cosmic consciousness, and said, I want this to be so, I desire this for myself. And you're going into the feeling space of, well, what would it feel like for me to have this right now? And you are leaning into that energetically every single day. Your brain is not making any distinction between, well, this is coming later or it's here now. If you're in that feeling every day of having it, it's here now as far as the brain is concerned. If you're visualizing something that you are asking to come forth from the universe and bless you with, and you're visualizing it, seeing it, and feeling it every day, your brain doesn't make any distinction between this is happening later on or this is happening now. The brain says, this is here, this is happening, this is my reality right now. Your body believes it is in some external experience then that is producing this new set of positive internal emotions, thoughts, and beliefs. That's pretty powerful stuff. So what does this have to do with a poverty mindset? Well, largely, most of the population is suffering from this chronic condition. And yes, a poverty mindset is a chronic condition. We are operating from the perspective of observer of our reality rather than creator of our experience. We are viewing our external set of circumstances of lack, of poverty, the absence of what we want, the absence of money, the absence of support, the absence of being able to go on that dream trip or that dream vacation or have that car or have that house or have that job. We are operating largely from a perspective of lack. This is a poverty mindset. This is a chronic condition. Because many of us who did not grow up wealthy have suffered through a poverty mindset their whole lives. That's a chronic condition. So it allows us to then also feel powerless. So that feeling of being powerless to change what is, because we're only looking at our external reality from the perspective of observer, we introduce high levels of stress. Stress hormones like cortisol that put us in fight or flight mode. It puts us in this constant like low-grade anxiety and panic and fear and worry that we're in constantly. And what this does, not only do we feel disempowered, but we are creating an inhospitable internal environment for ourselves, for our genes, for our DNA. Inviting poor physical or poor mental health and possibly dis-ease. So what if you took a group of people for 8 or more weeks with a poverty mindset, invited them to look at their levels from the perspective, or their daily reality from the perspective of creator of their experience versus observer of their reality. What if you gave them tools and resources to reinforce that they are a creator rather than the observer? What if you gave them tools every day that help them shift their mindset to interrupt patterns of lack belief, programming around lack, programming around poverty? What if you gave them the tools and resources to create new neural pathways through doing this mindset work, these pattern interrupting shifts, to reinforce that even further? What if you gave them energy healing activations to help them purge or to negate, cast out, release, heal lower emotions, lower vibration emotions of blame, resentment, guilt, and shame that often accompany a poverty mindset? What if you gave them constant support and reinforcement every day that you can change your thought forms, that you can change your reality, that you can change your life, you can become a different person when you change from a poverty mindset to a wealth mindset? What if you gave them validation, tools, and resources to explore this every single day? What if you supplied a myriad of ways to help them play with this idea and prove it to themselves every single day for 6 or 8 weeks? What if you set up an environment of this group of people where they support each other, of where they are encouraging each other, lifting each other up, not commiserating about their experience of being miserable because they're poor, but lifting themselves up and saying, I see you in me, and I'm going to support you through this process, because if I believe I can do it, I believe you can do it. And then in turn, that they're doing that to themselves, and they create their own internal support network of supporting themselves in this group. What do you think will happen to those people after 8 weeks? What do you think will happen to the members of this group after 8 weeks when they instill a whole new belief system and essentially become people who truly believe in the fact that they are creators of their own wealth, their destiny of wealth, and that leaving a poverty mindset behind is a choice, and a choice that they happily make and have left behind for good? How do you think they'll feel going forward in 2019 and being so empowered that they are unstoppable? You start building new neural pathways, absolutely. And if you are instilling in these people a belief every single day that you are creating a new reality, this is happening. So all of this wealth that you are asking for, this wealth mindset you are asking for to embody, then the money that you're asking for, the support that you're asking for financially to live the life that you want, if you're setting them up to believe that this is just a foregone conclusion and it is going to happen, it must happen, because if you're showing up and choosing elevated emotions, if you're showing up and shifting your mindset, if you are showing up and creating different behaviors every day to corroborate all of these new beliefs and thoughts, then it must happen. You must create a wealth mindset, because science proves this to be true, that your external environment and how you perceive it will change. Because your internal state, and you are signaling the gene through epigenetics, and what we know about epigenetics now from this talk, you are signaling the gene for success and to fire in a different way or express itself in a different way than it has before, based on you choosing a different internal state. How powerful is that? So I have this group, and it's called the Money Lab. Why do you think I chose to call it the Money Lab? Because we started on October 13th, so it's more than 8 weeks of support. And what did we learn about when I talked about the placebo studies, that these changes, if they are instilled every single day for 6 to 8 weeks, that the external environment changes to match the internal state. Guess how long the Money Lab is? Over 8 weeks. We started October 13th and we're going until December 31st. And what is really, really powerful is that the changes and the shifts are starting to happen with the people in here now. And they're all supporting each other. And everyone is engaged. And everyone is engaged in a really, really excited way. You know why? Because I have set up this container, almost like an incubator, so that it's a foregone conclusion that everyone is going to experience success in here. It's a foregone conclusion that everyone is going to lift each other up and elevate each other's thoughts and beliefs, even when this work gets hard, because we are looking at some difficult things in here. We are clearing and releasing a lot of old stuff that is marinating in lack and poverty mindset that's got to go, and it has to go if you are going to opt in for a wealth mindset. So that can be an incredible shift, but it is a little bit painful to look at. And so everyone, it doesn't matter. Everyone is showing up and doing this work in their own way. And they all have the support of each other in this group to do it. And do I believe in the success of every single person in this group? Yes. Because I've set up that container that way, and every single day we're getting daily boosts. I'm putting daily boosts in there telling me you can do this, you are doing this, it's happening. It's already happening right now. What you're asking for, look at it's already showing up. Look at that trail of breadcrumbs that's showing you how abundant you are already. It's about shifting your perspective out of observer and into creator and seeing all of the wonderful abundance that is around you all the time. And the only reason you don't see the abundance around you all the time is because you are choosing to be in observer mode of observing lack rather than abundance. It's a really powerful group. So there's a reason why I called it the Money Lab. It's really a wealth incubator. And that everyone is in here, I truly believe in their success to create a different identity for themselves. And that's something we're going to be talking about in the next week, because when you start to become more wealthy, you have to prepare yourself to become a different person. If you've been identifying yourself as someone your whole life who is poor, I am poor, well, you need to prepare yourself energetically for becoming wealthy, because you are adopting a whole different persona, a whole different personality of, I am someone who is wealthy. I experience wealth. I make money in my life every day. You have to prepare yourself energetically for becoming a person who is wealthy. And you are changing your identity because you're working so hard on your internal state. And actually, after a while, it doesn't become hard at all. It's just not something you do anymore. It's just something you are being. And everything you were before that, you learn how to unbe. And everything you've known before that, everything you've known and adopted as the truth of your life, I am this person, I am poor, I am not wealthy. You become this person who negates that entirely, because you have shown up completely differently in your internal state, and your external state shows a completely different set of circumstances that are unrecognizable to you on the life that you had before that, compared to the life you had before that. It's a powerful shift, and we have the science to back it up. So all the information, if you want to come join us in here and be part of this powerful group that is now 20 people, please come and join us. And do this experiment on yourself. If you want to be in a wealth incubator, you want to be in the Money Lab, and prove science right, prove to that part of you, that infinite part of you that knows that deep inside at your core you're abundant, that you are full of health and well-being, you get to prove that part of you right here too, in this group, in the Money Lab. So come and join us. And I hope this found you well. I hope that you get to think about this and let this information wash over you and let it sink in. And I want to wish you just a beautiful, beautiful night. Bye-bye.